Hey guys, and welcome to another installment to my DAoC class overview video series. My name's Obelisk, and today I'm going to look at the Blademaster class on Hibernia. We're going to start off by looking at just some general specs maybe, and then we'll go into, essentially I'm going to look at their main line is Celtic Duel. That's the most important line probably for them. We'll look at that line. We'll talk about their MLs a little bit. We'll talk about some RAs they should probably get, and some other RAs that might be nice, more of the optional stuff. This will probably, I'll probably talk mostly about stuff from a group standpoint, but I will touch on some of the solo and small man type aspects of play here, and then we'll look at maybe some things you want to put in your template, and some just general overall fight strategies that you can employ with the Blademaster. So let's hop into game here. We're let's see, we are on my Blademaster. He's, close to rank 7, I suppose. Hadn't played a ton of BM, but hadn't played a ton of light tank in general, honestly. The Merc and then the Zerker and the BM hadn't done a lot of that in my DAoC career, but I feel like they're pretty straightforward class. They become a little bit more simple over the last, I can't remember when they took out the stances, but they're a little bit, I guess, simpler now, like I said earlier. But stances are now gone. If you played a year ago or 2 years ago, whenever stances were around, they are no longer a thing. I remember coming back because I quit right around the time stances came out, and I came back and I was like, why aren't my stance coupons working? And I was looking through my abilities for the stances, and they were gone. I didn't even read the notes to know that they were missing. But anyway, so we'll look into some specs real quick. 50 Celtic Duel is probably, I think most everyone's going to go 50 Celtic Duel. The big I guess option you have in specs is how many points you put into your weapon spec. And by weapon spec I mean like blades, blunt, or piercing. A lot of people just go 50 blades, blunt, or pierce, whatever. But some people, if you want to get kind of crazy, you can split spec. You can go like blades and pierce. Which is a pretty interesting idea. I'm going to pull up a Spec website real quick to see if I can, so I can show you specs when we get to that point. But for right now, I'm just going to go mostly over the Celtic Duel line. There are probably some decent styles within blades, pierce, and blunt. I might look through those just briefly. I don't know. I don't use any for what I do, which is mostly group play. But We'll go through those, but mostly what you'll be using is Celtic Duel styles, I think, especially since pretty much every spec's you're gonna go 50 in that line for sure, and you might not go 50 in your blades, blunt, or pierce. So let's start by just opening up the Celtic Duel page. I'm gonna also make my chat window a little bit bigger, just so you can kind of see what's going on. If I test some styles, I'm gonna make the font a little bit bigger. Let's make it a little bit bigger than that. There we go. All right, so let's see. We'll start off with the anytime style, and this is the style you'll use when you can't land a positional or an after parry or whatever. That's Meteor Shower. It's just your basic anytime style. Looks like this. Can hit it from wherever. Pretty simple. It's going to do mediocre damage. It's not going to be, you're not going to be one-shotting people with it, but you'll be using your positional styles way more for damage. And next we'll go to one of the most iconic things I think of when I think of Blademaster, and that's Ice Storm, which is their side stun. It's we'll pull it up here. It's a high damage, 5-second side stun. Really good style. It's got the yellow style animation on it. Stuns, like I said, for 5 seconds. Pretty decent damage. When I think of BMs, I think of, BMs maybe in, 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, and they'd run up and side stun you, and I thought that was so cool. I was an owl player early on, and obviously Mercs couldn't side stun at the time. So I was like, man, that's awesome. That's so good. But we'll move on from there, and we'll look at the follow-up style to that. We'll look up at the follow-up style to that Ice Storm. And that's going to be a style called Tempest. It's going to apply a bleed. The bleed doesn't break mez or anything, so don't worry about that. It will stop any sort of health regen, like if they have a health myth on or anything like that. So bleeds are really good in small scale situations where that health really comes into play, the health regen. So definitely use that, and it's also just a ton of damage. Let's see. It's listed as very high, but I mean, there's so much variance and damages here that's hard to tell. But it does put out some damage. Definitely a good style to use if you're going for damage on the target. Then we'll look at the back style. And this is just a good style. It used to snare, I believe. Was this no Hurricane? Snow Squall used to snare, I believe. Am I even thinking of the right class? Snow Shower. That's a front style now. That used to be a back style. Disregard that. It doesn't matter at all. Anyway, so this is just a back style now. This style actually used to snare, but then this style definitely used to snare. They shook up melee styles and took away snares from classes and things like that, which was probably a good change in my opinion. But this is just a high damage back style. So use that whenever you're chasing someone. Also, if you use the 3-piece curse set that Blademasters get, you have to have the chest piece, the sleeves, and I think it's the boots or the legs. I can't remember if it's boots or legs for BM, but you have to have all 3 pieces on. This style will then have a 4-second melee snare. So that's a 40% snare for 4 seconds. It's not something you'll really be peeling people out with, but you'll be able to stick a target down and not let them get away from you. Even if you're snared and you're hitting a caster and some paladin just runs up and snares you, and you have a snare on your back style, you'll be keeping up with them, which is really good. So I think it's probably worth templating that cursed set, but we'll get to that later. But just know this style will have a 4-second snare if you have that. The follow-up style to this style is very important. It's called Supernova. It's a back style, or sorry, it's an after back style. It follows up Hurricane, and it's a 7-second stun, which is pretty. It's a pretty long stun for a BM. Very high damage. This might be the highest damage style. I don't know the current growth rates. I don't know a good website to look at growth rates on anymore. The old site I looked up growth rates on is outdated, very outdated now. It's not updated anymore, and they did a big shakeup since that was last dated. So I don't know if this is the hardest hitting style, but I think it might be. But regardless, it's a hard hitting style and it stuns. Yes, I mean it hit for 362. Keep in mind my bot doesn't have a ton of resist, but the after side style didn't hit nearly that hard, I don't think. Yeah, the after side style hit for 255, so that hit a lot harder. We'll look at it again. That was probably that it's not gonna hit for 342 every time, but anyway, so it's a hard hitting style. It stuns, follow up style. So use that chain when you're going for damage on people. The next style I want to look at is called, where is it? Solar Flare. Sorry. Now it's another side style that does high damage. However, this style is interesting and very good because it is your long duration melee snare, and it's going to snare 40% for 23 seconds. That's a pretty long snare, and it still does pretty good damage. Of course, you're not going to be able to chain it like you could with Ice Storm into Tempest and get a very high damage style, but you'll still be doing high damage and you can snare with it. So definitely put this style on your bar and use it. I use this style a ton, especially when I'm fighting groups with tanks, or if I'm running by a tank and if I can get a free side snare on it and snare them out for 23 seconds, I'm going to do it all day. Or if for some reason, say their paladin comes to peel me and I'm able to let's see, I'll probably miss this trying to do it here, but I stuck my bot to me. He's trying to peel me. If I can like run through, side stun him, and then go to the side and snare him and run off, if that's like a paladin trying to peel me, that's great. Now I can run off and do whatever I want, and the guy trying to peel me out is now crawling. So definitely look at using that for defensive purposes and offensive purposes. You know, it's a good style to open up with if you're running up on a cleric or something and you want to, side snare him. And then you can definitely stick to him, at least off of that first hit, because he is snared. So use that. Other styles in this line, as far as group play, I don't think you're really looking at too much. But as far as solo play, there's a couple more really good ones that you'll want to have at your ready. And even in group play, these after parry styles can be pretty good, because sometimes you'll parry and you can use these and get yourself out of a sticky situation. I've done it a few times. It's kind of hard, but it can happen. The first style is Tornado, and that's your basic after parry style. It's a very, very good style because it debuffs their armor factor by 100 for 15 seconds. So it's super strong in solo play. And if for some reason you can get it off in a group fight on a target you're DPSing, like if you're DPSing down a Merc or something and he swings at you and you parry and you can get that off, then go for it. Let's see. So yeah, so I just hit it there and it debuffed my bot pretty strong. The real key to this style is the follow-up, really, Twin Star. And this is a 7-second stun that does very high damage. And keep in mind, the after parry style Tornado does high damage as well. But Twin Star, the follow-up, does very high damage and it stuns for 7 seconds. So like I said, in solo play, small man play, whatever, that's going to be super important. It's a long duration stun, especially if you're fighting someone 1v1 and you can get a side stun, force out their purge. They're only going to have a 25-second immunity on that side stun, because the way stun immunity works is it's 5 seconds times how long the stun is. So the side stun is 5 seconds, so 5 times 5 is 25, so it's only a 25-second immunity. Their purge is gone, hopefully, if you got them to purge that. And then you can hit a 7-second stun and have it stick, and then be able to hopefully kill them in that time, depending on what it is. But the reason I like this in group, and I have it on my bar, even if I'm playing in a group situation, is if, say, some paladin or something comes and tries to peel me, and I'm able to get a lucky parry, I can then just hopefully land 2 styles, my after parry and then the follow up to that, and get a stun off of them. I'm not going to try it every time, but if I just notice I parry, I'll do that and try to get a stun. You'll see it there. Then I can go around and hit him with the snare and run off, or kill him. But you'll probably use that more in a 1v1 situation. But just keep it in mind for your group play. Another good style, and this is for group play, or it's probably mostly for 1v1 play, but you can use it in groups if you really want to. This frontal style is called Snow Shower. It's a medium damage style. I don't know how this compares to your anytime, but the reason you would use this, it has a 16% attack speed debuff for 20 seconds. So that's pretty strong. You always have this up if you're soloing, or if you're 1v1ing someone, always make sure they're debuffed with this, because it's just a free dehaste, and that's pretty strong in that situation. So yeah, use that for sure. And then other than that, you have an evade chain. For this is definitely more of a 1v1 type situation. It has a bleed on it. If you evade, if you want to put it on your bar, I probably would have it if I was 1v1ing a lot or soloing a lot on my BM. Just hit him with this. It's a high damage after evade style. It has a bleed, so like I said, it's going to cut down the health regen. And then you follow that up with this blizzard, and it's a slightly better attack speed debuff than your front style. If you can get it off, great. If not, it's only 5% better of an attack speed debuff than your front style, and the front style is super easy to land. So maybe throw that on your bar, but I don't know if you're going to be evading a ton on BM versus your parrying. But definitely worth at least having there, just for the odd use. And that, I think, about does it for your BM styles. You got taunt and detaunt, but that's mainly for PvE stuff. You probably don't want to use that in RVR. Really no reason to. Thunderstorm used to be really good because it had a high defensive bonus and it did actually really good damage, but they nerfed that into the ground. So don't even worry about using that in RVR. That's going to do it for Celtic duel styles in an RVR setting. Your blade styles, I don't know. I don't use anything. I think there's an anytime chain, if I remember. It's been a while since I looked at them, so I'm not sure exactly if I'm going to be completely accurate on everything. There's a parry style that has a parry stun, but you're going to want to use your Celtic duel one. Has a longer stun on it. Probably does more damage, but I'm not sure about that. You do have an interesting anytime chain. However, it is high. The first style is high endurance cost, low damage, but it does chain into a pretty good attack speed debuff, a 30% attack speed debuff, which is double the amount of your frontal style. So if you want to use that, go for it. But it's a high-end cost, low damage style that you're kind of sacrificing a bit there. But if you think it's important to get that really good attack speed debuff, go for it. The parry style has a 26% attack speed debuff, So if you already landed a parry stun, then, and you don't want to, obviously there's really not much of a point in trying to land another one, you can go for this kinetic blade. It's a 26% attack speed debuff. It's going to be, 10%. I think the other one was 16%, the front style. It's going to be 10% better than your front style. Shouldn't be that hard to land. So maybe look at that. Other than that, I don't know if there's much I would really use. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. We'll quickly look at Blunt and Pierce. Just do a quick overview. I'm not super familiar with the styles, but I'll just look and see if I see anything. Let's see, what is Stunning Blow? So if you go 50 Blunt, you actually get a really good parry stun or 2-part chain. This might be pretty decent for solo. It depends on if you want to go crush damage type. You'll be hitting Alb Leather super hard. You'll be hitting neutral against all mid classes. You'll be hitting Alb Studded really hard too, but you'll be hitting Alb Chain really weak. Also, you'll be hitting Alb Plate really strong too. So it's really probably not a terrible damage type to be soloing with. But you get a 2-part parry chain that's a 10-second stun. So that's pretty good if you're 1v1ing, or sorry, not 1v1. I shouldn't say 1v1. If you're soloing. And the first style in this parry chain is a 30% attack speed debuff, so it's pretty good too. So maybe look at this if you're doing a lot of 1v1. Other than that, you have a actually you don't even have this back snare because it doesn't work on BMs. I don't think there's really much else in this line that I would really get too excited about. You get a side attack speed debuff. But yeah, you wouldn't use this style. You just use this one. Yep, that's about it for that. We'll look at Pierce real quick, and then we will move on. Okay, so if you want to go Pierce, you get an interesting anytime chain that has a pretty good attack speed debuff on the second style. So you could go that. I don't know if I'd recommend it. I don't think you get a back snare. No. Yeah, you get. Maybe not go Pierce. Pierce is okay, I guess. I would subspec. Like if I mentioned earlier, and I'll talk about this more after I get done going through this. But if I was speccing 2 damage types, I would probably go Pierce as my second. Just because I like the advantages Pierce has against chain wearers like healers, shamans, Valkyries, all mid tanks, all mid chain or whatever it's called, and then all Alb chain. You're gonna be doing a lot of damage against. But yeah, so that about does it for weapon styles. You can also go shield spec. I really wouldn't though, because in order for shield spec to be useful in BM, you can't just Q bind a swap to your shield. You have to literally go in your inventory in the middle of a fight, equip your shield and throw it on your character, hit the shield style, and then click your offhand and then put it directly onto the offhand slot. So it's really clunky. Not sure if it's worth it. You have a side stun that lasts for 5 seconds. You have a 2-part back chain that lasts for 7 seconds. Slams only 5 seconds for BMs. You can mangle someone, but I don't think it's worth all the hassle. I would much rather, if I was going to invest points into shield, invest in a different damage type option. So I wouldn't really spec shield. If you want me to cover shield on BMs, then let me know. But if you're curious about what shield styles do, I have other videos with classes with shield that should spec shield that you can go look at those. Think of like Warden or I think that's the only class, Warden, Paladin, things like that I've covered so far. So go back and look at those videos if you're curious about shield spec. Yeah, let's talk about maybe some of the weirder specs that we got going on. And let me see if my monitor 3 is good to go, because it has the... Yeah, perfect. Okay. So, like I said earlier, we're going to go 50 crit strike for sure. And then, say we want to go some piercing spec, and we want, as our other damage type, say we want probably slash. I like slash. Let's look at slash. So we can go 50 Celtic Duel, we can go 39 Blades, 39 Pierce, and then we have a few points left for Parry if we want it, or we can put 3 more points or split up the points a little bit into the other lines. But I'm just going to put some points into Parry because I think Parry is actually kind of valuable, even in group situations where you might go with the spec more often. This is mainly, like I said, group spec. If I was soloing, I would drop a damage type maybe and probably just go 1. And then either look at, if you want to go the blunt for the big parry chain, you could do that. Or you could go, it doesn't matter what damage type, whatever you want to go. I can make a video talking about damage types later about what does best against what armor types, but you could go, you can even go 39 blades and then a ton of parry. But that's besides the point. So we're just going to go back to 39, 39 into the weapon specs and 16 parry. So I think this is a pretty good spec if you want 2 damage types. There's a theory, I think it was called Weird Spec, WYRD was the guy that I guess came up with it. This has been years and years and years ago. The concept is all you need is I think 51 into your damage type spec for it to be completely capped out. You'll get all the benefits from that. Whether you believe that or not, I haven't done any individual testing on it. I've always kind of gone by that with things like Paladin and Armsman and Infiltrator if I was using like dual wield or crit strike styles. But on Paladins, I only go however much slash I need to have, like say 21 plus or 29 plus 22 slash from my my template and RA or realm abilities, or sorry, realm rank bonuses. So you have 51 total. So on BM, let's look at my BM right now, just see how many points I have from template and realm rank. So for blades, I have plus 16 because I'm rank 6 and I have 11 in my template. So theoretically, I would only need 37 blades to reach. Oh, sorry, I did that. I was completely back. It's 35 blades, sorry, to reach 51 total combined. So theoretically, that's all I need if I'm using Celtic Duel styles. If I'm using blade styles, I'm going to suffer a bit. But if I'm using only Celtic Duel styles, then I'll be fine. However, if you look at your weapon skill, you do lose weapon skill when you lose blades, but I think you have a hidden Celtic Duel weapon skill that's not showing. So this weapon skill you see right here, that's my blades weapon skill when I'm using blade styles. It's not my Celtic Duel weapon skill, if that makes sense, because that doesn't change when I put points into CD or not. So the idea is there's a hidden weapon skill number for Celtic Duel that's completely separated, and all you need is 51 weapon. So that makes a spec like this make sense. So the reason you would do this is because, like I said, this is probably mainly for groups. If you're going up against a mid group and you're fighting a lot of like shamans, you're hitting a lot of shamans and healers, you can throw on a pierce weapon. And I don't have any pierce weapons on me, but let's pretend this Spear of Kings is a pierce weapon, and then my Fine Steel Longsword's a slash weapon like it is. So if I'm running around hitting stuff, maybe I'm hitting a Zerker for a little bit, and I want to use a slash weapon because slash is strong to mid studded, which is what Zerkers use. So I would use my Fine Steel, and then I see a healer open, so I want to go over to the healer. So I would then swap to my piercing weapon, and then I would hit the healer for a lot more damage, just because Hib Chain is weak to thrust. Same if I was fighting an Alb group. All Alb is neutral to slash, but their chain is weak to thrust, and then their leather and studded are weak to crush. So I would use slash against everything but clerics, mercs, things like that. So it's all a matter of what damage types you want. It's really nice to have two because you can always you're never gonna have to be forced to use the damage type they're gonna be highly resistant to. You always either hit neutral or they're gonna be vulnerable to you. So that's the reason you would do that. If you have any more questions about that, or any tips to me, maybe I'm completely off base with the weapon skill stuff. Maybe you do need more than 51, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. let me know. But if you want me to go more in depth about armor types and damages versus certain armor types, let me know. I can do that. There's probably some information on the internet as far as like a chart you can look at to see what's resistant to what and what's vulnerable to what. But I'm going to leave it there for this video. I can go more into that later. But yeah, other than that, I think that's pretty much it for BM weapon like specs and styles. Of course, there are other spec options. There are plenty of them, but those are just kind of two that I wanted to cover. But before we move on too far, let's look at their rank 5. This is a very, very good rank 5 in my opinion. It's a 5-minute reuse rank 5, and I think anything that has a 5-minute reuse timer is super good. I mean, there are obviously exceptions, that just abilities that just make no sense, but this is actually a really good ability. What happens is you essentially just put up a little barrier around yourself, and you just have a ton of parrying. You have 90% chance to parry. I'm going to start swinging on myself. I'm going to parry a lot anyway, probably, because my bot has no weapon skill, but let me give my bot haste, actually. It's going to help a little bit in the demonstration. So we're just swinging away, and then I'll hit my rank 5, and I should pretty much parry every swing. Like, the bot getting through this is going to be... It's not going to happen. I have 90%... My chance to parry is increased by 90%. Now, some people might can hit you sometimes. I have hit BMs through this, and I have been hit through this, but you're probably not getting hit in this. So that's really good if you have tanks on you. Just sit there, face them, and then parry. You can still get... Actually, sorry, you have 360 parry, so it's really good. Sorry, I couldn't remember for sure if you can get hit from the back. Rank 5's gone away now, so I'm getting hit. The other effect that this gives you is it decreases your spell damage, your incoming spell damage that you're getting hit by 25%. So that's just a great ability in itself. You're getting hit for a quarter of a less than you should have been. So like I said, if you get hit for 100, you're getting hit for 75. So that's strong. And then you get the tank immunity essentially with the parry. Ways to use this: obviously use it if you're just getting blown up by casters and you just need that 25% mitigation. Go ahead and pop that. But where the parry stuff really comes into play is if you have tanks on you, use that if you're going to die to them, or if say you're pushing hard as a BM in a group and there's an arms center paladin that comes back to slam you, and if they slam you, you might die. So you really need to not get slammed at that point. You don't have any purge or charge or anything. You can rank 5 just to ensure that you don't get stunned and casters don't just blow you up because you're a sitting duck. So use it as an anti-peel if you need to. Use it to counter tanks that are trying to kill you, and use it to help you stay alive versus casters. Now, one little caveat about the ability is if you use it and you have the parry, the 90% parry, you cannot attack. As soon as you attack, you lose that parry bonus. So it's not like you can just run around and be essentially invulnerable to melee and then just start hitting people. It's not how it works. I believe you do get the you still retain the 25% magic mitigation even if you are swinging on people, but you can the parry bonus goes away once you start swinging. Next we'll just kind of go over some of their RAs, and one of the interesting things that BMs received recently, if you're a returning player, is they now get charge 5 for free. So they get the highest level of charge, which is a 1.5 minute reuse, last 15 seconds still, completely for free. If you don't know what charge is, it's a super strong ability. It's one of the stronger abilities in the game in my opinion. It's a 15-second buff, and it makes you unCCable. That counts for slams, melee stuns, casted stuns, roots, mezzas, snares, anything like that. Third rank 5, I think third rank 5 is the only CC that can stop you in this. So don't get third rank 5, I guess. But any other CC, you'll be running through it. So it gives you that, and it allows you to move 74% faster. So we'll run around. You see, this is my normal run speed. I hit charge, and you can see I'm a bit faster. You can charge through speed warps and retain your charge speed, so that's really strong. You're not getting slowed down by speed warps, so if you need to get to a backline really quick, just charge through. One little one interesting thing about charge and this ML style called grapple, it's in the Blademaster style, is that if you grapple someone that's charged, I should probably tell you what grapple does. Grapple, essentially, it stuns the person that's grappling you. So the person that grapples gets stunned for 12 seconds, and it essentially roots you for 10 seconds. You can't swing, you can't melee anything at that point, but you cannot be meleeed yourself. It's unbreakable. You can get nuked through it. So it's a good way for someone to peel someone or to set up damage on someone with casters. But what happens is you can be grappled while you're in charge. It's not going to root you. It's not going to make you stand still, but it will make you, it will essentially fumble you. So you won't be able to swing at anyone while you're grappled, but you'll still be able to run around until your charge ends. So if they grapple you at the last 5 seconds of your charge, you'll be running around for 5 seconds, and then the 5 seconds after that, for the remaining duration of the grapple, you'll be rooted in place wherever you land. Like I said, but you cannot swing during grapple even if you're charged. So that's an interesting little deal with grapple and charge. Other class abilities, you get this little you get this little ability called Flurry, which is, I really love Flurry. I think it's really cool. It's a 2-minute reuse, little instant DD essentially, 300 range. It's just a way to kind of help you spike someone down if you want to, or you can use it as a super short range interrupt. And we'll go ahead and use it on my bot. You see it did 144 damage to him, roughly 7-10%. I don't know. It does slash damage, so it's not like true damage or anything. But it's just a way to kind of throw out a little more damage, or like I said, a short range interrupt. Ways to use this as an interrupt. Say you're hitting someone here, and there's another fella right here that's casting. Maybe he's a healer, or he's a shaman. He's about to root you. You can quickly target that guy, hit him with a flurry if he's within 300 range, and then stay on this guy and keep meleeing. So you can use it in an interrupt capacity, but you have to be within 300 range. Or if you're, you can use it through bodyguard, I believe. And if you're running up on a caster with a brittle guard, and you swing on him, or you just want to erupt him through the brittle guard, because if you hit a brittle guard and you don't dual wield, it's not going to erupt the caster. You can just erupt him with flurry if it's like an important interrupt, like he's about to kill someone. If you don't get that interrupt, so use that. There's multiple ways to use that. And then kind of the big ability, I think, for BMs as far as helping their damage is triple wield. Now the delve on this is kind of weird. It says your attacks do 100% additional energy damage. I don't know if 100% is really correct, but it does help you do quite a lot. It also gives you a damage add. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know about the 100% energy damage, but it does increase your melee damage by 15% is what it says, and it gives you an accuracy boost of 10%. So you pretty much won't miss. You won't just miss a style. You'll still get blocked and things like that, but it'll help you with your accuracy. So we'll do a couple anytime swings on my bot, and let me get this back to where it was. Let's see. Let me kind of set up, because I will do a lot of damage here. I'm gonna put up a heal font and heal myself. Sorry, it's taking a second, but I want to be able to land a few swings on this guy. And this bot's pretty crappy. He's only got 14% slash resist, so he'll get hit for a lot. So we'll do a couple anytime swings. And keep in mind, I have no strength con or anything like that. So I'm hitting for roughly, I don't know, on average, like 220 or so. Just kind of all over the place between like 190 and 240 or something like that. But just in that range. Now we'll heal our bot real quick, and I'll pop triple wield. You can kind of see the damage difference. You can see where the damage is coming from and what it does to my actual melee damage itself. So pop it. You see everything goes off. I'm hitting for 235 first hit, 249. So I'm hitting a bit harder, 240. Hitting at the upper ends, 270. That's a pretty big hit there. I'll swing again, 280. Get a heal off again. And it lasts a pretty good while. It lasts, what, like 30 seconds? 280, 279. You know, pretty... Increased my damage by quite a bit. Really good ability in my opinion, just for, it's not like Vindo with Zerkers and now it's gone. So I'm back to hitting for the low 200s. It's not quite as potent as Vindo, is for Zerkers. That gives them a 100% chance to crit, and they can crit up to 100% of their damage. But it does help a lot. And this used to be, I don't know if this is a bug or not. It's not listed in the delve, and I don't know if they fixed it. I haven't tested it in a while, but I believe you cannot be critically hit while you have triple wheeled up. Like I said, I don't know if they fixed that. I haven't tested it since I've been back, but say you're having a 1v1 with a Berserker, and he Vindos on you, and you pop triple wheeled, he's not critting at all on you. So that Vindo just completely got wiped out, and now he can't parry or anything because Vindo takes away all your defense on the Berserker, and then you're hitting him for a ton. So it's a super good to counter Berserkers, actually. Or just if you want to use it to not get crit hit if you're taking a lot of melee damage. Don't know if that's been fixed or not, so don't take that to the bank or anything. But triple wheeled, really good ability. 7-minute reuse, I believe. Yeah, 7-minute recast. 30-second duration. Just an overall good spell. And that does it for all BM class abilities, I believe, unless I'm missing something. I don't think I am. So you get your free charge, your flurry, and your triple wheeled, and obviously your rank 5. Now we'll look at RAs. And when Blademasters got charge 5 for free, that really helped, especially low rank Blademasters in groups. Because in groups, I'll touch on the like the group play RAs, what I think you should go, what I think suggested, and then I might touch on solo stuff later. But in groups before, you pretty much needed Det 9 and a high level of charge. Charge 5 was good because you could charge multiple times in certain fights, but you can get away with charge 4, charge 3. But you kind of had to have charge every fight on BM to be really useful. But when they gave you that for free, it allowed you to hit kind of where you needed to be a lot earlier. Because in the past, I think you needed to be 7L5, 7L4 to really be to really be good on BM, I think, to really have everything you needed. Now all you need is 4L4, 4L5. So that's super good. Really should be pretty easy to hit rank 4. But we'll look at a must-have for group play, and that's Det 9. It's a 55% reduction to all CC spells, that is. Not melee stuns or anything like that, melee snares, but any sort of spell that applies CC, you're going to have 55% reduction to. One class ability I forgot about that Blademasters have are these little passives they have. And I'll go over all these real quick before I get into the rest of the RAs. Sorry about that. You get Enhanced Evade, and I cannot remember. Let's see, maybe I can find some info real quick. No. Anyway, I can't remember how much extra evade, advanced evade gives you, but you do get a little more. You get a free little evade boost. Tireless helps you with endurance costs. It's pretty common. Every tank has it. Prevent Flight. Prevent Flight's very interesting because it temporarily snares the target. You see that little blue swirly thing that went around the target? And it says Fred the bot begins to move more slowly. It's essentially a snare. It can proc on any hit. You don't have to use weapon styles. That was unstyled swinging there. It's got a pretty good proc rate too. It's just really nice to use that, and it allows you to stick to targets a little bit easier. I'm a big fan of Prevent Flight. Glad light tanks have it. And Stoicism. Now Stoicism is a 25%. Is it 25% or is it 15%? Let me look that up. It's been a while since I'm pretty sure it's 25%. Stoicism DAoC. Sorry about that. I should have known that off the top of my head, but yeah, 25%. I was right. It's a 25% reduction to all crowd control. It's like a mini Det for free. And they stack with each other, so you get a total of 80% CC immunity, or CC reduction, I should say, on BMs with Det 9. So we'll go back to the RA list, and sorry I'm kind of all over the place in this video, but it is what it is. So you have to get Det 9 pretty much, in my opinion. And then what you can get is kind of subjective to what you want. I really like Avoidance of Magic, and that gives you secondary magic resist. I have AOM5 on my BM, and that's a 10% secondary magic boost. I like this if I'm fighting caster groups mainly. You don't really need this if you're fighting tank groups, but more often than not, when I play BM, I'm pushing into a few casters, and if they get open and nuke me down, then that makes me sad. So I get some magic damage mitigation in the form of AOM, Avoidance of Magic. Other things that I think are good are Mastery of Pain. It gives you crit chance, so you'll be doing a lot of damage with that. Things like AoC Strength if you want. I wouldn't, especially if you're Furbolg, I wouldn't really recommend getting a ton of AoC Strength. I'd recommend Mastery of Pain. I believe, and like I said, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think the damage gained from Strength after 400 there's diminishing returns after 400, and I think at 450 that's kind of the hard cap. At least that's old information. I don't know if that's still true. I could be wrong on that, but I generally don't try to get a ton over 400 Strength. However, in group play, you do get strength debuff, and most casters have a base strength debuff, and some have a strength con debuff, so you will get debuff. So that's when AoC Strength will really help if you believe in the 400 diminishing returns level. But I do. But if I was higher rank, I might have a little bit of AoC Strength, especially since I'm Celt. Other than that, you can go things like I always get long on one just because it's easier to sprint. You can go things like maybe if you need 250 quickness, because that's the cap for quickness, you can go a little bit of AoC Quick like on a Furbolg, but I don't think you'll probably need that. Yeah, as far as passives, actually, I think that might be it. I might just go AOM, Master Pain, and maybe some AoC Strength. I wouldn't really buy Toughness, I don't think. I guess if you're super high rank and you want to be even tankier, you can buy a little bit of Toughness. But I think that's about it for what I would buy for passives. Now for actives, I like having at least Purge 2. Yeah, that's what I have on my BM is Purge 2. And that's mainly for melee stuns. If I'm pushing hard on a caster group and then some armsman runs back and slams me for 3 casters and there's not a lot of reps going on, then I might die in that. Unless I have Purge, and then I can get out of the stun, run away, or go interrupt. So I like having some Purge. You can go higher Purge if you want to, but I'm at the rank that I can't really afford more than Purge 2. So I bought Purge 2. IP, if you're really high rank and you want just a little more survivability when you're pushing, you can get some IP. IP2, IP3, whatever. But I might go for more damage over that. Who knows? Other than that, that's about it for group BM RAs. For solo RAs, Master Parrying is really strong, especially since you have a strong parry chain. Even if you go blunt, you have the 10-second stun chain. But even the Celtic Duel, the normal chain, you get the 100 AF debuff right off the parry style. Super good. And then you have the 7-second stun. And it just keeps you alive, too. You're blocking hits. So get some Master Parry. I usually go, it depends on how much parry spec you have. Like 6 or 7 might be nice. Depends on what rank you are also. You don't really need Det solo, but it will help in certain situations. If you're fighting a minstrel, or you can walk right through his instant stun essentially with Det 9 and Stoicism. If you're fighting a Scald and he mezzes you and tries to run off, that mez is only going to last a few seconds on you, really, since it's such a low duration mez. Fighting Smite clerics, their stun's you're gonna walk right through the stun. If you're fighting a healer RM duo or something, the healer stuns you, you'll walk right through that. It's not a necessity for solo, but it can be helpful. You probably don't even have to go Det 9. You can even probably get away with like Det 7 or Det 5 or something, just a little bit. That's up to you. It's preference. I guess it's about what you're fighting and if you need it a lot. If you find yourself, man, I'm getting spell CC'd a lot, I need something to help me against that. You can always invest in Det. Other than Master Parry must-haves, I think, are some Purge, obviously, and CC is super strong in this game. If you get slammed, you'll want to be able to purge that. Purging stuns and solo or poisons, debuffs can be really good. IP is really good for solo BMs. Just a free health return. IP3 is 50%. That's a pretty good number. I wouldn't really suggest investing in higher IP. I just don't think it's worth it at that point. But IP3 probably would be a good way. IP2 if you're lower rank, it's fine. If you're kiting a lot, which I don't think you really will in BM, you can charge away in First Aid. What First Aid is, you have to be out of combat. I think it's a 10-second timer, and then you can use it, and it'll heal you for whatever value you have. If you go First Aid 2, it's a 40% heal. 3-minute reuse, so it's up a lot. So you could charge away from a fight in First Aid and then come back if you want. I don't know if I would do this on my BM, but it's an option. Master Pain is going to be good, just damage and solo. It'll be helpful. Master Parry, we talked about that earlier. Definitely get some of that. And then just your augment ability things. If you want some strength or whatever, that's fine. But I think IP, Purge, Master Parry, some Pain is going to be what you need as far as solo goes. Now we'll look at the ML line, and I think probably the most common BM ML line is definitely going to be your Bane Lord, and this kind of really helps them in a group situation with their interrupting abilities. Especially Bane Lords combined with Charge, really nice. So what most Bane Lords do is they're just a big PBOE interrupt, and every Bane Lord has a special effect, and I'll go through them real quick because I think they are important to BMs, but a lot of the times they're used for interrupts. And there are a few people like to save for certain situations, but we'll get to those in a second. We'll just go through the Bane Lord list real quick. Zone of Unmana. Now this is probably, in my opinion, this is the best Bane Lord, and it's ML1. It's a 700 radius PBOE. What it does is it decreases their cast speed, your target's cast speed, by 50%. So that's super strong, especially when you see someone mock. You can hit them with Zone of Unmana, and they'll be a lot less effective during that mock because they're throwing out less spells, but super good. I don't believe this interrupts anymore. It used to, but not anymore. You can't really see the effect on... Does it work in duels? Yeah, you can't see the effect in realm duels. I don't know if there is an effect actually in RVR, but let's see. You can see my Druid casting. Mock's wearing off. It does have it does diminish the effect as the duration is going away. It's a 20-second duration, but super strong ability, especially against mocks. The next ML is just essentially a little damage. It does 10%. I believe it's 10%. It doesn't have it listed on the delve, but 10% to your target's current health, power, and endurance. So it's nice. You can see it hits my my bot actually for 12%, 277. That's at full health though. It'll be less damage as if my bot was at 50%, it would do half that, I believe. But it's a really good interrupt. 750 radius, and all these most of these are 5-minute reuse timers. This is a 5-minute reuse. Zone of Unmana is a 5-minute reuse. But you'll probably want to use this as an interrupt mostly. Not really spiking damage with it because it's only 10% at 100% health. Now, the interesting thing about this particular ML is it shares a reuse timer with another really good ML. It's called Immortalization. So keep in mind, Demoralization and Primal Agony share the same reuse timer. But we'll get back to that in a second when I talk about why you might not want to use Primal Agony as your primary interrupting spell, because you might want to save the reuse timer for Demoralization. The next ML is Oppression. And now this is a really good interrupt, and this only shares a timer with Agony Transmission, which you probably won't be using too often on BM. So this is a really good, just, if you need to pick one to interrupt with, this would be it, because you're not going to be like, man, I wish I had, Zone of Mana up or Demoralization up. It's not going to take away the reuse timer on that. But what this does is it reduces your enemy's maximum encumbrance. And let's see, let me take away as much strength as I can from my bot. Yeah, okay, so that's took away strength con, have no strength. So what this does, like I says, it reduces their encumbrance. And I don't know if this works properly in a realm duel. Spells are weird in realm duels, but we'll use it. And, okay, you see, it essentially rooted my bot just because it essentially made him encumbered. So this is a super good thing to use. It's pretty much gonna, most of the time at least, it's gonna reduce the speed of whoever you're chasing if they are a caster or like a healer or support, if they don't have a lot of strength built into their template. So that's super nice for being able to keep up with someone or catch up to someone. So use that if you need to erupt, or if you really need to just like catch up with someone that you think you can. Maybe if they have base strength buff, I don't know if they'll have enough strength, maybe, but it gives you a chance to catch up with someone. The next one is Inexorable Defeat. This shares the reuse timer with Zone of Unmana, and it doesn't interrupt. Like I said, Zone of Unmana does not interrupt. This does interrupt. What this does is increases the endurance cost of your opponents. So a lot of the times, if you're fighting a tank 1v1 or something like that, this is probably going to be a better choice to use, just because it's going to make them use more endurance, depending on what class you're fighting, if they have no spells or something. But this also interrupts in groups, so a lot of times you might use this in a group and you might not use Zone of a Man. If you're like, oh crap, I really need a PB Erupt right now, and this is all I gotta use it. Not a bad thing to do. The next thing is Tactical Insight. It makes essentially is a sort of a buff for your friends. Makes you harder to hit. I never really use this. What does this share timer with? 142. What's my other 142? I think this shares a timer with Primal Agony and Demo, maybe? Demoralization? I think so, yeah. So I'd much rather use Primal Agony or Demoralization than this, so I never use it. Sneering Tendrils, what this does is it stuns you, I believe, for 10 seconds, and then it slows everyone around you. This shares a reuse with Zone of a Man. So I never use it, and it stuns you, so that's not very cool. I don't want to get stunned for 10 seconds. You used to be able to charge and use this. I don't think you still can. I'll test that in a second. That was like a really old thing, but I'm pretty sure they took that out of the game a long time ago. Chaotic Power, target spells are 10% less effective. No, 10%, sorry. Target spells are 10% more effective. It makes it easier to hit targets. Never use this. It shares reuse with something that I don't want to give up. Shares a reuse with Oppression. I'd rather have Oppression. Just really not my thing. And then now, like I said, Demoralization. We talked about this earlier. Shares a reuse timer with Primal Agony. What this does is it lowers the effectiveness of your enemy spells. So they'll be doing less damage, essentially, with this. So if you hit a mocked, say a Sork mocks on you, or an SM mocks on you, you can hit them with Zone of Mana and Demoralization, and they'll be pretty much worthless during that time. It's a really good way to just debuff someone and just be like, oh, I demoted them. They're screwed for that time. Point Blank area effect shout that reduces the effectiveness spec of enemies by 50% and adds a negative 50 to the effective level of the targets. Sorry, my resolution's kind of small. Of the target for the purposes of melee and magical damage up to an effective level of 70. So just debuffs their damage. Like I said, I like to use this on mocked targets or targets I know are going to be free for a while. I believe this lasts for 30 seconds, so it's going to be useful. Just throw it on someone if you know you're not going to be able to erupt them for a while, or if they mocked, then it'll at least make their spells less effective. The next MO we'll look at is Bane Spike, and this just gives you essentially a pretty hefty damage add. We'll look at some damage real quick, and then we'll pop Bane Spike and see how much it affects it. So I'm hitting for in the 180s to mid 200s, 180, 230, 170. Just keep those damage numbers in mind. We'll heal the bot up, and then we'll pop Bane Spike. Hitting for 266, 211, it's on the low end, but 208, 210, 205. So overall, we're hitting harder than we were before. I had a bunch of 180, 170 hits, and then I had a bunch of low 200 to medium 200 hits with Bane Spike up. 5-minute reuse. Used to be way more potent in the past, but was a longer reuse. They decreased how strong it was and gave it a lower reuse. 350 radius, so it will affect your friends. The interesting thing, this does not stack with your triple wield, so don't use these both at once. I don't even think you can. I think it will literally not cast Bane Spike, if I'm not mistaken. But don't pop both at once. It's not going to do anything. Other than that, I think it's about it. Let me see if the Sneering Tendrils works with charge. So we'll charge and hit Sneering Tendrils. Nope, still stuns me, so you pretty much will never use the Sneering Tendrils of Power Bane Lord ability. I'm going to go over seal lines real quick, because I think seals can be kind of important. Let's see, dual challenge. I actually got kicked out of the duel for using that ability. What you need to buy, I think, on pretty much any offensive tank, or most tanks in general, is Seal Disease. It's a 1000 range disease, 2.2 second cast time. It's not affected by dex, so it's going to be literally 2.2 seconds. But it's just a good way to interrupt within 100 range, and diseasing someone's always nice. Slows them down, cuts their heals in half, Disease is super strong, and if you can just cast it, that's great. This used to be 1500 range. It used to be a lot better, but they nerfed the range a little bit. But still, pick it up. What some people do also is they buy these CL buffs, and I like them on BM because they're unshearable. Any buff you cast on yourself is unshearable, and these aren't excluded from that. So what I do is, you can see up here, I have CL Dex Quick. Here, I'll just cast these real quick. Let's see how much. Let's see. Okay. Also, with these, you do need buff bonus. So I have these leggings with 15% and this Meteor with 10%. So I'll throw these on. I have 25% buff bonus, which is cap. I'll cast this first buff, which is Strength Con and Dex Quick. And then I'll cast this next one, Con, base Con, and then base Strength. And we'll see where our buffs are looking like compared to cap buffs, which are 155. So I'm looking at 138. 138 Strength, 138 Con, and then 86 Quickness. Like I said, 155 is a cap for Strength, Con, Dex, whatever. That's a buff cap. And Dex Quick only gives you 93 Quickness. So you're a little bit under cap. You're almost, what was it, 17, 18 off cap buffs. But what I like to do is I like to cancel the Strength Con and then throw on a something that has a Spec Strength Con charge, like for example, Croger's Ring of Strength, or this Director's Ring of Anarchy has a Dex Quick and Strength Con charge. Really good ring if you want buff charges. I keep my buff bonus on, even though I don't think you need it with these. Pop my Strength Con. So now I have this Strength Con charge, which is unshearable, lasts for 10 minutes, and then the rest of my buffs are unshearable as well. So now let's look at our strength. So I'm at 145 strength. So that's 10 under cap, and I'm at 145 con, which is 10 under cap. A lot of the times, if you're getting sheared over and over in a fight, that's super annoying. You're popping supremacy pots if you have them over and over. That starts to get expensive, and you can only pop a supremacy pot every 30 seconds. So this is just sort of I don't want to worry about getting sheared and having to rebuff myself or call for buffs multiple times a fight. I'll take the 10 strength or 10 con hit, and I'll have unshearable buffs. And then with quickness, you're only off. What did I say? 93 was the cap. You're only off 7 quickness. It's really not that bad, so I don't really mind that. And let's see. Let's put our stuff back on. And with this template, I have exactly 250 quick, which is the cap for quickness, with my self Dex Quick. So I don't need any more Dex. Like red Dex Quick wouldn't do anything for me, unless I get debuffed. Then it wouldn't help. And I still have 382 cons or 382 strength and decent hits. So this is a good option if you don't want to have to worry about getting sheared in a fight and having to constantly rebuff or ask for buffs. Not for everyone, but if you really want to, go for that. Other CL things, I mean, there's nothing really that stands out for BMs in my opinion that you can buy. So I just buy those. Now, as far as templates, you're gonna want, at least in group play, a cloak with, let's see, where's my loyal BM cloak? Am I missing that? Do I even have that? I might not even have it. I think I do. Okay, yeah, here we go. You're gonna want a cloak with this magic charge on it. The loyal BM cloak has it, and then the Astral Cloak of Heroes has it. However, the Astral Cloak of Heroes only gives you 30 secondary magical resist. The loyal BM cloak gives you 40, so it's probably a little bit better. And it gives you a defensive proc, which is similar to the SOM proc, the ablative proc. So that's kind of nice, but use either the loyal BM cloak or the Astral Cloak of Heroes for groups, because you're going to want that magic secondary resist charge for when you do get nuked. Last 15 to 20 seconds. The loyal cloak lasts 15, the Astral Cloak lasts 20. Other items you might want in a group template, I like those Cursed Blood gauntlets. They give you a 25% heal. It's going to heal you for about, I don't know, maybe 1,000 damage on BM, depending on how many hits you have. So that's really strong. Just an instant in-combat heal you can throw up when you're getting nuked or damaged. Gem of the Harbinger is really good, I think, because what it does, the second charge on it, gives you a single target zone of a mana debuff, essentially. So it decreases their cast speed. It penalizes their cast speed by 25% for 40 seconds. So we'll cast on this, and then we'll, whoops, I hit the wrong, my bad, hit the wrong Q-bind and stunned myself and broke the duel. But it's just nice when you see someone mock, just throw a Gem of the Harbinger charge on them, and it'll make their mock a little less effective. I'll show you it in action here. I'll start casting. Okay, so I used Gem of the Harbinger in the dual ended, so I can't even show you. My bad. Anyway, it's good. Maybe throw it in your template if you want that. Items like these otherworldly rings have this 5% buff to health and armor factor. The Cursed Chapter 6 Dream Conqueror Bracer, it's the same thing but for group, and it stacks with this, so you can get a total of 10% extra health and armor factor if you combine those two. Those are good. Charges like this Hydra's Eye Bracer, or Ring of Azure, whatever. Anything that has the 10% secondary resist magic charge is really good. It'll give you a little bit more secondary magic resist. Other than that, I can't really think of much that is a must for BM templates, other than their weapon choice. Now for groups, a lot of people want weapons that have damage on them. Think Pixelator Blade, the new Ancient Blades, or whatever they're called, the Aurelite Blades. Things like the Frostbite, whatever. This is actually a really good weapon for doing damage because it's 4.5, and the Aurelite weapon's the exact same. It just doesn't look cool. It has the nice slash debuff proc and the ABS debuff. So if you want to do damage, look at something like that. However, a lot of the times you want to play BM, you're going to want to be interrupting a lot. That might be your job. It might not be to kill stuff most of the time, but it'll be to run around and maybe just keep things interrupted. And weapons like Astral Blade of Illusions help because this procs a pet for 8 seconds. It's nerfed from what it used to be, so it's not quite as good as it used to be. But what I like to do is run Traders offhand a lot. This is going to nerf your damage a bit. It's a 3.5 speed weapon. It's not even 16.2 DPS. It's 15. It's not even a level 50 weapon. However, what this does is it procs a pet for 15 seconds. I'm sure you've seen me proc these things. We'll swing a little bit, but it procs a pet that just follows you around 15 seconds and interrupts. Super good. That means if you proc a pet on someone, then you can go to another target and worry about interrupting them while they deal with your pet. They either have to clear it, have someone else clear it, or just wait out the 15 seconds and be erupted the whole time. So I still like having pet proc weapons, even though it kind of nerfs your damage a little bit, but you can always swap to a weapon later when you want to damage someone. So pet proc weapons are super good. If you do use pet proc weapons, I recommend, if you notice right here, I have this little Q-bind right there. What that is a pet release macro or button. And how you get that is you go into your spell page and you click this pet button. It'll bring up your pet window. You hold down your shift key, you click release, and then you have this little icon that comes up on your mouse. You throw it in your quick bar. And how you use this, we'll see if we can proc a pet, and I'll show you. And I'll tell you why in a second once we proc one, hopefully soon, why you would want to do this. Well, as we're trying to proc a pet, I'll go ahead and tell you. So you might run by a tank and try to hit him with a side stun or a side snare to peel him. And then a weapon proc or a pet proc will proc on some tank. And pets on tanks are not good because what it does is it gives them essentially free CC immunity. If you try to mez someone with a pet on them, they're not going to be mez. Same with roots. So you don't want to put pets on tanks because the purpose of the pet is to interrupt. And tanks probably don't need to be interrupted. So you want to get that pet off the tank as soon as possible. And you'll use this button to do it. And I'm getting super unlucky with pet procs here. But essentially what you'll do is once the pet spawns, you'll click on the pet and then you'll click or press this keybind. So we'll click on this Blade of Illusions that just procced, and then I'll go over here and press or click this, and it'll kill the pet immediately as soon as I press it. So that's pretty strong. You just want to have that available in case you do accidentally proc a pet on a tank. Other than that, for weapons, you can throw Spear of the Kings on your back if you want, and you get the pulsing group boon. It's good if you want. But other than that, it's kind of whatever you want to do. Like I said, I like these the Aurelite weapons you can buy with Aurelite, or like the Frostbite, 4.5 speed, super slow, and lots and lots of damage procs. And the slower the weapon is, the higher the damage is. Essentially, is the idea. Other than that, we'll look at solo items real quick. I think Cloak of the Loyal Cloak's still good because it has the SOM, the 10-minute defensive proc that has a chance to proc these 160 ablatives that absorb 100% damage, or up to 100%. 100% up to 160 is what I should say, sorry. So that's super strong for solo. Even those cursed gloves I talked about earlier, the cursed blood gloves, a 25% heal in combat's good. You'll probably want, if you're soloing, the Ghostly Medal of Valor. It's a 10% heal over time for 30 seconds. 10% per tick. I think it's every 5 seconds of frequency. Those are good. Also, I think in groups, you definitely want the Curse Set, which I mentioned earlier, that gives your back stun a 4-second snare. So try to fit those 3 curse pieces into your template. Back to solo items, maybe an item with a melee resist charge, whether it be from a belt or a ring or something like the Ring of Tarkaz, Otherworldly Belt, Mighty Belt of the Vigilante. All those have the melee resist charge. Solo attempts, the Otherworldly Ring with the Otherworldly Boon, and then the Chapter 6 Bracer, the Dream Conqueror Bracer that gives you the other 5% health and armor factor. Put those in. And a bunch of heal procs and heal over time procs. So use a chest piece that has a heal over time. The Light chest piece and the Cursed chest piece both have heal over time. So look at using those. Other than that, I think that's about it. I might have missed something, but I think I hit most of the high points for templates. Strategy, I mentioned earlier in groups. You might be erupting a lot, so use pet proc weapons. Use your Bane Lords for interrupts a lot. If someone mocks and you still have Zone of Mana or Demoralization up, maybe throw those on, or even one. You don't have to use both of them. Throw those on a mock target. Or just use your Bane Lords for interrupts. The Bane Lords that interrupts are ML2, Primal Agony, ML3, and ML4. So those are the Bane Lords that you want to use for interrupts. Zone of Mana and Demoralization do not interrupt, so don't rely on those for ups. You'll be using these 3, ML2, 3, and 4 for interrupts. You can sit back on BM if you're not wanting to fully commit, if you're within 1,000 range, and throw out some CL diseases on the target. That helps a lot to erupt without really having to run up and melee them. Use pets when you want to erupt. Swap to weapons like the Light weapon or Frostbite, and then maybe a Pixelayer weapon or something in your offhand. If you want to do damage, you'll be doing way more damage with those than if you have a Trader's Dagger. You want to use your positionals most of the time on BM. Like I said earlier, I think your back chain does the most damage, and it has that big 7-second stun follow-up. Easy to land stuns on BM. You can hit him from the side. Run at angles. If this guy's running this way and I'm kind of close to him, I can hit him with a side style from about right here maybe. So just run an angle. If you have a tank trying to peel you, I won't be able to stun him, but I'll try to use a side snare. Say my bot's some sort of tank trying to peel me, try to run through him, hit a side snare. I'm failing miserably right now, but do what you can to self-peel off yourself. Let's see, do a more traditional side style. Just run through like that, side style and run off. Hit him with the side stun if you want to. Landed that, but he's still stunning me in. Other things, use your triple wheel to spike things down when you know you have a window. Like maybe someone has the Cleric and Friar erupted. That's a great time to try to spike someone down real quick with triple wield. Use that when you have windows. Don't just pop that blindly. Use that if you think you have a good chance of killing someone. Other than that, use your Gem of the Harbinger if you have it on mocked targets. And use your cloak charge, the high value magic resist deal when you're about to get blown up. If you like a deep body debuff by a cab, and there's a body sork sitting there waiting to nuke you, and you might not get a ton of heals, pop that, and then maybe it'll help you get out. Yeah, I think that's about it for strategy. I mean, there's so much strategy involved in any class that it's going to be impossible for me to hit all the high points in a video like this. Solo play, just land your after parry stuns and your parry styles, get some attack speed debuffs on them, maybe some bleeds, and then just kill them pretty much. If you want to do things like charge away and first aid, do that. It's a little cheeky strategy, I guess. Yeah, I think that's about it. Also, a little thing you can do is you can pop your rank 5, they'll swing at you, and then you get essentially a free after parry style. You might not land it because they might block it or parry it, but it'll essentially give you an opening to land that style. But you are giving up your rank 5 for it. Other than that, I think that's about it for BM. If you have any questions that I didn't go over, let me know. If I missed anything obvious, hit me in the chat. Let me know what I missed. And always, also, if you're viewing these, sometimes I do miss things, and people have posted some really good information in the chat, or in the comments, I should say. So go look at that. Maybe you'll find some good information down there. Like I said, suggestions, tips, questions, anything like that, just hit me in the comments or shoot me a PM or something. And thanks for watching. That's been the Blademaster on Hibernia. Thanks a ton, guys.